In this series of videos, we're going to be working on adding details. This first strategy is move number 1 is called action clues. Here is an example. What does this move look like in writing? Jerry sat on his bed and I could tell that he was losing the fight not to cry. Tears were popping out of his eyes and slipping down his cheeks. This is from the book by Christopher Paul Curtis, From Bud Not Buddy. What he's doing is he's making the reader think, making him use his inferencing skills. Make the reader infer. Give him clues. If you look over here, we have tears were popping out of his eyes. I have to infer that that means his eyes are welling up. He's getting ready to cry. Doesn't say that, but that's what I have to infer. Then it says they were slipping down his cheeks. So there it tells me that he now is crying, because when you have tears, when you have tears coming down your cheeks, that you are crying. Our second example of action clues is the one below. Even though my grandmother was from this country for over 50 years, I can still remember her breaking out in nervous perspiration and trembling as her passport was checked at the border when we returned to the United States from a shopping trip in Tijuana. This is an insert from the book Esperanza Rising by the author Pam Ryan. In this passage, I have to infer that her grandmother is very, very nervous. It tells me that she's nervous, but I have to envision what that nervousness looks like for her grandmother. The author gives me these clues right here. Perspiration and trembling. Perspiration and trembling. Those words tell me that she is sweating and that she is shaking. So that I have to infer that means she is very, very nervous. Why? I may not know, but it sounds like, with my inferring, that she was showing her passport to go return to the United States. But she was originally from Mexico, but she had been living in the United States for over 50 years, but she still was nervous. Now we're going to try on this strategy, revising sentences through actions or reactions. An action is actually what your body is doing. What kind of action are you doing? A reaction is also your body, but it might be how your facial expressions look, what sounds came out of you. Very much the same, but sometimes just as a little bit different. So our sentence that we have here is Heather was sad that her fish was dead. I'm going to envision that Heather is a little tiny girl. She has never had an animal pass away, and that her reaction, this is how I envision her reacting to her fish dying. I'm going to go down to the first one after using reaction. This is what my sentence said. I thought to myself, you know what? Heather, she's probably going to scream. It's probably going to be pretty dramatic, and that her fish is no longer alive. I also added a little bit more detail so the reader could envision exactly what this picture looks like. Heather was screaming at the top of her lungs when she realized her fish of 4 years was no longer swimming in its bowl. By using the words screaming at the top of her lungs, my reader has to infer that she was very upset, she was being very verbal, and having quite the fit. I also put in that her fish, I put in a little bit more information for the reader, that it was 4 years old, or she had it for 4 years old. And instead of saying that it was dead, I said that it was no longer swimming in its bowl. Now, then I thought, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to see just what action, like what would a person do? But I don't really want to think about the sound they would make. I just want to think about the action. So after using action, this is how I revised that sentence. Heather fell to the hardwood floors in the kitchen when she looked in Piper's bowl and realized he was no longer with her. Okay? I use the action of Heather falling to the hardwood floors. That's an action. I didn't say she screamed, I didn't say anything, but she fell to the hardwood floors. So that tells me as a reader, I have to infer if somebody fell, okay, they either tripped or got hurt, but then as I keep on reading, I realize when she looked into Piper's bowl, she realized he was no longer with her. If somebody's no longer with you, possibly they've left for the day, but it's a fish, so I'm guessing that it probably died. Okay? Poor little Piper. Now it is your turn to revise this sentence using action clues. Remember that action clues tell the action of what that person's doing or telling how they're feeling. It's not just saying that they were sad, they were mad, they were terrified, but what does that look like? When somebody is mad or sad or happy, what are they doing? What's their facial expression? What's their body doing? Okay, you're going to get out your reader's notebooks and you're going to write down the first sentence, the sentence below. The first day of middle school was terrifying for Josephine. Okay, remember to use actions and reactions. Revise this sentence, and then we will share at tables and as a class the sentences that you came up with showing Josephine's actions.